The Big Sur Land Trust is dedicated to saving the wild areas of mostly Monterey County, but Central California. And what they do is sometimes they actually buy the land and keep it for themselves as part of the trust, but more often they act as a facilitator. They put the seller together with a buyer who's willing to buy the development rights to the property, and in doing so, the land actually remains in the hands of the original owner, and he's able to pass it on to his family. But the land is saved in perpetuity from development, and of course it provides some tax advantages and money to the people who are selling these easements, but it's also often an older family that's worried about what's going to happen to the land after they're gone. So by doing this deal through the Big Sur Land Trust, they're able to be sure that the land will be preserved and it will be kept in their family. The Big Sur Land Trust operates mostly in Monterey County. I photographed from Moss Landing down really to the Monterey County line in the south. They've preserved lands mostly along the coast, but now they're working more out in Carmel Valley also. They look for larger pieces of land that are contiguous so that they provide a home for the animals. And oftentimes that means ranches that are back out of the developed areas, but that are in danger of being developed themselves. The Big Sur Land Trust project actually started out from a gift by Kodak of some motion picture film that we were looking for a project to use it on. Big Sur Land Trust came up as an obvious choice of someone who could use a film like that, a fundraising film. They had the need and they had these beautiful lands here in the area, so we approached them about producing a film for them. They were excited about it, and in the course of the next month or so we shot some test film and we got tours of their projects here in the area. They kept expressing the wish that they could take everybody out on these tours like they were us. And the film evolved to really create an experience like that for the potential donors and for the members of the organization. I personally was interested in seeing what I could do with motion picture film in the area, since there was such a tradition of still photography here. So over the course of the next couple of years, mostly spring and fall, we shot about 2,000 feet of 16mm film. It was an extraordinary experience for me because I got to experiment with basically Monterey in motion. The fog, instead of just being a still image, we could shoot it in sped up motion so that it looked like waves coming in on the shore instead of just fuzzy white stuff hanging on the mountains. We did quite a bit of time-lapse photography just to slow down nature, actually to speed up nature so people could see it in motion rather than just in the instant. And of course, this area is so rich in natural beauty that it wasn't difficult to find subject matter. The Land Trust had asked that we actually photograph the projects that they had a part in. So we tried to either photograph from those areas or the areas themselves. Those ran really from one end of the county to the other. One of the beauties of this project was they gave me the keys and the combinations to this backcountry that I'd always looked up at from the road and wondered how in the world I could get back there to photograph it. And suddenly I had 10,000 acres of Pala Corona Ranch at my disposal, anytime I wanted it. Many of the projects that they had preserved, the owners still retained rights as to who could enter the land. So being given that opportunity, I spent way too much time back there, kind of looking for excuses to go back and reshoot situations that got better as I did, but they were probably fine the first time around. Huge areas back there that really hadn't been touched in a century, I suppose. And the idea of the preservation that the Land Trust was doing was to keep them just in that condition. Animals, wild boar, hawks, deer everywhere. I could stop the car, turn it off, and just sit. And at first it would be perfectly quiet. There would be no sounds whatsoever. And gradually, once the animals realized that I was there or got used to me or whatever, the place just came alive with wildlife and sounds. And I was able to, if I proceeded quietly and with respect, able to photograph nature being itself. And for me, that was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I'd heard the old photographers talking about the work that they went through to try to get into these back properties. And I felt really a kinship with them because it hadn't changed. And I knew that that was how it had been for everyone, basically, the photographers that had photographed in Monterey since the beginning. Point Lobos hasn't changed that much, except there's parking lots. But on a quiet day, back away from the road, it's still full of animal life and beauty that you can't find anyplace else in the world. The beaches, the rivers. In the spring, the rivers open up to the ocean and pour out into the Pacific. And I basically followed the rivers from up in the mountains where the source began and photographed in 3 or 4 situations all the way down to the river mouth. And then cutting those shots together, suddenly you had the motion of water running across the landscape. Instead of a still image of one location, you were able to follow the stream all the way from the source to the ocean. And I tried to do that as much as I could to create a living picture of the environment. And of course, in doing so, I was able to experience it myself, and it was really moving. When the photography was finally finished, I almost felt like I was in withdrawal. I couldn't go up anymore. Not that I couldn't, I didn't, but it was just a beautiful experience that I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to recreate in my lifetime. One of the beauties of being a photographer in the area is that you get a chance to really go out in nature, and every time I do, I become more in awe of what we have here around us. And this project especially, an opportunity to do this over 2 years, just left me stunned by what's here that most of us don't see. It's an extraordinary place. I don't know that there's many places like this in the world. And for me personally, to be able to just drive 20 minutes in any direction and find myself just immersed in nature and beauty is an amazing experience as a photographer and artist. I think it explains why so many photographers have made this their home.